While watching a recent episode, I was contemplating 6 criterion that you recently discussed on how God answers our prayers. Please clarify how God's answer will not undermine others' salvation and will not determine others' freedom. God bless you, Francesca.
Hey, Francesca, that's a really good question. You're right, those 6 criteria, 2 of the criteria, well, first of all, of course, God's never going to undermine our salvation or relieve some suffering that is in some way helpful to our salvation. But remember, we touch the lives of others. And we touch the lives not just of family members, colleagues, but in all kinds of ways, we're touching people's lives. And sometimes our suffering, believe it or not, can have such a purifying and good effect on us that we actually can, in turn, help somebody else's salvation. So, God's not going to take away suffering that will help us help others to salvation. If God sees that our suffering can be a point of identification for somebody else who is suffering, and they can look at how our faith influences suffering, and maybe those other people can then say, oh, this is terrific, right? I can do it. If Spitzer can do it, I can do it. He's not going to take those sufferings away, because that would tend to undermine a path to salvation, and the Lord is going to literally allow me to affect as many people's salvation as possible. And if suffering is a good route to doing it, and it frequently is, because suffering really, through that vulnerability and weakness, improves the quality of our actions. It totally improves the way in which we love, or the way in which we manifest our faith, the dependence on God. It's going to affect the way we affect others' salvation. So that's the key idea. The second question, part of your question was, well, how does this affect others' How is it that our suffering can affect others' freedom? The point I was trying to make is, God's not going to sit there and interrupt the whole cycle of natural causation by causing a miracle every 5 seconds, right? So if we're suffering, we're going to try and find the opportunities in the suffering, follow the Holy Spirit through that suffering, right? That's going to be more beneficial to us than getting probably a miracle instantly. At least in my case, thank God I didn't get a miracle. The 101 times that I asked for it, I got on the 102nd. Now and the miracle was slight. It wasn't a mega miracle, right? So the idea is, if we're getting miracles, every 5 seconds, again, that undermines other people's freedom too, because they go, well, gee whiz, why didn't I get a miracle? Or, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'll get a miracle as often as Spitzer's getting a miracle, and so forth and so on. So we've got all kinds of expectations that go outside of the natural order. But in order for you to know what's coming down the pike in the next 5 minutes, you have to know, in some sense, what natural causation normally portends. And if you get a miracle every 5 seconds, you're not going to have any idea, in which case you can't possibly be free. So God's not going to undermine that capacity of others' freedom through alleviation of your suffering, say through a miracle.